It's A minor for a bar, D minor for a bar, A minor for 2 bars, D minor for 2 bars, A minor for 2 bars, E minor for a bar, D minor for a bar, and A minor for 2 bars. That makes up 12 bars. Now, you might be furiously scribbling that down, saying, oh, I wish he had said that slower, but, you memorize this stuff. After a while, the 12-bar blues is just one musical form that a accomplished musician has in their DNA. It's so learned, it's so memorized that you don't have to think about this stuff. But as a music teacher, I realize I have to present these materials to you clearly, and so I will jot that down. I'll write out the 12-bar blues in A minor. You can click on that link right below to get to my Patreon page, and voila, there it is, 12-bar blues in A minor. So again, here's the notes that we're playing: A, C, and E, D, F, and A, E, G, and B. Wherever you happen to grab them. Notice that I don't always necessarily grab them in the same place because I know my ukulele neck. I know that I could have gotten that E minor chord up here. Could have gotten the D minor chord here. I could get the A minor chord way up here. There are multiple places to find these 9 notes that we discussed. A, C, and E are all over the place. D, F, and A are all over the place. And E, G, and B are all over the place. So what do we have to get good at so far? Well, you have to know what improvising is. It's spontaneously creating melodies in the moment based on stuff you've gotten proficient at and stuff that you know. Secondly, what we have to know is where are the cool notes for the chords that we're jamming on. And in this case, we know an A minor chord has 3 notes in it. We have to know where they are. D minor chord has 3 notes in it. We have to know where they are. And finally, an E minor chord has 3 notes in it. We have to know where those are. Now, earlier I mentioned scales, and you can play scales. Scales are great. We could play an A blues scale, for instance, A minor blues. I use minor blues quite a bit in my playing. Being a longtime rock and blues and sometimes jazz and classical guitar player, I oftentimes use the blues scale. And so that's part of my vocabulary. You could use the pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic. Great sound, classic sound. And then if you know the A minor scale, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, pretty easy to memorize because it's just the alphabet up to the letter G. And as I said, it is the same as the C major scale. It just starts on A. So if you already know a C major scale, you know an A minor scale. You just have to reconfigure it so it starts and ends on A rather than C. So A minor scale. You can use the scale when you improvise. You can use these notes of the chord, also known as chord tones, when you improvise. And then you can go further, and we're not going to talk about that further today. That's going to be part 2 of this. We're going to go further with part 2. But let's start with a phrase. We have to figure out a central idea for our solo, a theme, a plot. Something that everything's centered around, or else it's just random ideas. And it's just, or it can sound like an exercise. It can sound like you just playing A, C, and E going. And then D, F, A. That's boring. That's okay if you're a beginner and you're just learning, getting your feet wet and practicing this stuff. But eventually you want to create something a little more speech-like, a little bit more like vocabulary, like a language. And music is a language, and improvising is spontaneously creating using this language. It's kind of like giving an extemporaneous speech, like the I Had a Dream speech that MLK did. he was giving a very different speech, and they realized he wasn't capturing the crowd. He wasn't really in the zone. And somebody had suggested to him, hey, tell him about your dream, Martin, you know. And he started telling them about his dream. And that's one of the most world famous and moving speeches, most important speeches of all time, right up there with the Gettysburg Address and those sort of things. And so that's pretty incredible. He just like did that off the cuff. But he was a Baptist preacher, a Southern Baptist preacher, and that was part and parcel to that job, is being able to improvise, being able to go off the cuff. And so this is kind of like doing a speech just right off the top of your head without having a script in front of you or a teleprompter or something like that. So let's make a phrase. Let's figure out a good phrase to play on top of these chords that isn't just those notes in order. So one phrase I'm going to suggest uses the notes A, C, G, and then it returns back to A, like this. That's very much like a blue note, sort of like a late 50s cool jazz thing on Blue Note records. A lot of the heads that they played, a lot of the melodies that they played were based on stuff like that. And maybe they'd move it up. They'd do the same phrase, but for D minor. Maybe do the same thing for E minor, just moved up to E minor. Back to D minor, back to A minor. If you listen to those records from the late 50s, like Donald Byrd, like Freddie Hubbard, all that cool blue note jazz, there's all kinds, Oliver Nelson, it's just great stuff. Wynton Kelly, I've got a million of those records, and I've listened to that stuff for a long time, since I was a teenager. And there's incredible ideas, very simple melodies, but very effective, very bluesy, very down home, very gospely, a lot of soul. It's great, great feeling music, that late 50s jazz. But my main thing here is to show you that you can create great things from simple materials. So A, C, and E. I just added a little G note to it, and it becomes A, C, G, A. And that's a kind of a solid phrase. You could use just that. We just wrote a tune, basically. We wrote a tune that might even have fit on one of those old Blue Note records from the late 50s, early 60s. I'm not saying that's a great tune. I'm not saying that's highly original either. That's probably ripping off something I've heard from somewhere. But it works. It really would be convincing if you were on the bandstand and you played something like that. People would say, wow, okay, that person can play, they can solo, they're playing something that's moving and is appropriate, and that's all we're trying to do now. The genius stuff, the brilliant stuff, the virtuoso stuff, that's later. You got to start somewhere. All right, ukulele people, I hope this made sense, and I will lay out those chords for you. You can link to them down below. I will give you the chord tones on the neck that you can find. I'll make diagrams so that you can easily find these important notes. I will also lay out the A minor scale, the A minor pentatonic scale, and the A minor blues scale for you. So there's a lot right there, jam-packed. And then we're just going to go further and further with this. So this is part one of a series, and this was a request by one of my patrons. She knows who she is. And I really like teaching this subject. This is a lot of fun for me. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of these. All right, ukulele people, be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, and be sure to click that notify bell. You'll get notifications on all the new videos I come out with each week, or as often as I can do these. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.